Okay, am I on?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, thank you very much for inviting us to come and share about the Powerful Tools for Caregiver program with you. We're going to give just a little bit of a background about ourselves and how we got involved with the Powerful Tools class. Are we too close?
I don't know.
We'll move a little bit farther
I'll
away.
get on a camera view. I think they am too loud.
Yeah, I think they have the volume a little too loud, so we may have to shut one off, and once you shut yours off, there, that's much better. I'm a farm wife, mother of 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and I live between Farnville and Gowrie, Iowa. And why am I here? I'm here because my mother had dementia for close to 20 years. And from the first signs of her dementia until her death in 2017, my husband and I were her and my father's basic caregivers. And so we were the ones that if they called, we had to go. We were 35 miles away, and so if they needed help, we were the ones that ran and did the help. And as her disease progressed, like more after about the first 10 years, you know, I had a lot of frustrations with my family because they didn't really believe that anything was wrong with Mom. They were kind of out of the picture. They didn't come and visit that often, and whenever they saw her, she was really good. Of course, she rallied and was happy, and I see, people, And one of the sad things is my dad never shared when they called that anything was wrong, that he was frustrated with Mom. He kept that all to himself. And had he shared with his concerns with them, I think they would have maybe helped out a little bit sooner than what they did. My mother was very verbally abusive with my father. She just tore him up from one end to another. He could do no good and stuff, and she totally rearranged her life to fit the way she wanted it to. And so with that knowledge, Dad just left. He went out to the farm, or he went to the elevator, or he went downstairs, and he just left Mom alone. And so Mom was really, really isolated, and I think and knowing now with an Alzheimer's or dementia patient, the more you keep them social and going, the better off they are, because once it becomes so totally isolated, then trying to transition them into another area is very, very difficult to do. And so I would be on the phone with my brother and sister all the time, complaining and saying we need to do something and everything. And then Powerful Tools for Caregiver came up. I saw an advertisement in the Fort Dodge Messenger that, and by the way, I'm not from the, I would say, extension, as your flyer said. We are trained for Powerful Tools through Lutheran Family Services, which it's exactly the same program, but as Diane will explain later on, why we went through Lutheran Family Services instead. So with the Powerful Tools program, I found support. I learned how to take care of myself, and that I needed to take care of myself. There were 12 different people in my class with 12 different issues, but yet a lot of our caregiving situations were the same. So in dealing with them, we could deal with them together. I found a better way to try to communicate with my family and not being so aggressive and so blaming of them for not doing anything. And it helped, the class helped me deal with all the emotions that I was going through, especially my anger and the guilt that I felt because I couldn't help my mom. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what doctors to contact. Fort Dodge didn't have a neurologist back then. The doctors did not want to give dementia diagnoses back then either. So I found resources then through powerful tools that would help. I found ways to deal with my stress and my health issues that I had on. And the class that I took was in 2013, and we formed a support group following that class, and that support group is still going on, so we meet regularly, and which also has been a big help. So now, my caregiving issues and Diane's are totally different. And so that's why we work so well together as a team for teaching powerful tools, because it's not, powerful tools is not just for people with dementia. So Diane can now share her.
I hope this doesn't last out around.
I I've been a caregiver basically since the 1980s. Everything was going well in our family, and we lived in Emporia, Kansas at the time, and the economy was not real good, so jobs were not readily available. My husband was a truck driver. His name was Fred, and I joined him driving truck once our girls got old enough for me to be able to not be home all the time. We went off the side of a mountain in Wyoming in 1986, and he was in intensive care in the hospital for 5 weeks, and we didn't know from day to day if he was going to make it or not. He did, after 7 or 8 weeks, be able to come home, and but never was able to go back to work. So for 11 years, I was his caregiver through all the ups and downs, and about the times things started seeming to calm down a little bit, and there was some calm in our life. There would be another crisis of some kind with his health, and he ended up back in the hospital, and time after time, I was just afraid to let my guard down. And knowing what I know now, I should have asked for help long ago, helping, with his care, helping for a way for me to get some respite and at least be able to go get groceries or whatever I needed to do without immediately having to hurry back home and make sure that everything was okay with him. He passed away 11 years from the date of our accident. And in that time, in that last year, I also lost my mother and father, and I was caregiver for them too. So with focusing all my care on them, I lost my identity. When they all three died, I didn't know who I was or what I should be doing, because my time had always been mandated by, well, Dad needs his insulin set up, Mom needs some help getting some meals ready for him, or set their meds up, or doctor's appointments. And when there are 3 people that are quite ill, you all know if you're in that situation that you spend a lot of time sitting in doctor's offices. So gradually I learned who I was again, and things seemed to be easing, and I was finally able to go back to work. Well, then this Canadian came into my life. His name was Gary, and he lived in Canada, and I met him over the internet, which at the time was almost taboo. You didn't talk about it. It worked very well for me, I want you to know. He was a very, very nice guy, and I was very blessed to be loved by two husbands. I moved to Canada, and we were married, and after 7 years, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So here I found myself again in a caregiver role. It wasn't even a year, and he passed away. It was about 7.5 months, actually. Well, living in Canada and having actually my home, I have 2 daughters, and they both lived here in Iowa. but I was 60 years old, and you know that you can't move back to the United States without having some kind of health insurance. So I remained in Canada for 5 years until I turned 65, and then I moved back here. I also have cared for seniors in their home. With one lady, I stayed overnight, and with the other lady, I worked the daytime shifts. So when I wasn't caring for my own family, husband or parents, I was caring for other people. And they became just as close as parents, and I loved them dearly. And each time one of them passed away, it was another blow to me. And it takes time to heal from each one of those losses. So that's basically my background. I haven't been a caregiver since I moved back here in 2013. But each one of us, at some point in our life, is a caregiver to some degree. So we'll get into that more later too. But we can go ahead and start with our slide presentation. Oh yes, thank you. I need to apologize to you first. I just had cataract surgery. So glasses on or glasses off, I don't see. Everything's blurry, and they tell me it's the astigmatism. It's like, oh, they're right. A little bit of the background history about powerful tools for caregivers. The program is an independent, nonprofit organization. It was developed over 3 years of pilot testing, refinement, and evaluative research at Legacy Health in Portland, Oregon. The program has been offered since 1998, and it's offered locally by Lutheran Family Service, which is who Kathy and I work for, and also the Iowa State Extension Office. Research studies find high rates of depression and anxiety among caregivers and increased vulnerability to health issues. Caregivers frequently cite restriction of personal activities and social life as problems. You knew, that you could call up a friend and go for coffee, and once you become a full-time caregiver, those things are pretty much non-existent anymore. They often feel they have no control over events, and that feeling of powerlessness has a significant negative impact on caregivers' physical and emotional health. The program is for caregivers and not the person receiving care. It is a very completely confidential program. Things that are said within our group stay within the group. It's not to be, talked about outside of the group. Lutheran Family Services has added a Christian aspect to the basic program by including appropriate Bible passages. And when we have Bible passages on the screen, we would like all of us to read it together. Okay?
As you've seen through lunch, this is our logo.
Can you all see?
You're first.
This is my screen. Caregiving is quite possibly the hardest job in the world. Do we need the microphone? Can you hear us okay without it? No. Okay, let's try it without it. It should be in there. If you have trouble hearing, we can either struggle with using it or talk louder.
If you can read the screen, I didn't realize it was going to be so small. Can we read it together? And the king will answer them. Truly I say to you, as you did it to the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. Matthew 25:40. We are to help and support each other. Who are the caregivers? How many of you are caregivers? Can we show a raise of hands? Who are you caring for? Your mother? Saw some hands there. Husband? Okay. Are there any past caregivers here? Like Diana? Several, okay. And you have a child that's ill, your parents, like we said, could be a friend that you're caring for, that maybe they have no family left, or a relative.
Some statistics, 29% of the U.S. population provides care for a chronically ill, disabled, or aged family member or friend during any given year.
20 hours per week is the average number of hours family caregivers spend caring for their loved ones. 13% of caregivers provide 40 hours a week or more.
36% of family caregivers care for a parent. 7 out of 10 caregivers are caring for loved ones over 50 years of age.
6 in 10 family caregivers are employed. An estimated 59 to 75% of the caregivers are female, and the majority of caregivers are 35 to 64 years old. So basically that's saying someone is working a 40-hour week, then they're being a caregiver for anywhere from 20 hours to 40 hours a week, and plus they have family at home where they have kids and have to take care of their family. So like our first slide said, it's one of the hardest jobs that there is to be a caregiver.
You're a full-time employee, and then you more than sometimes at least double, sometimes even triple those hours. So that is a very definitely a full-time job. Caregivers spend an average of 4.3 years in caregiving. 42% of caregivers live within 20 minutes of the care recipient, and 24% of care recipients live with the caregiver.
He does. That's great. That's very, very good. That's great. The typical caregiver, the typical family caregiver is a 49-year-old woman caring for her widowed 69-year-old mother who does not live with her. The caregiver is married and employed. Now, it could be like two different kinds. You have acute illnesses where maybe the person fell and broke their leg and had to have it set and had to recover, so you were just helping for a short-term type thing, and or maybe an illness, so maybe you're just getting groceries or making a few meals or doing light housekeeping or doing the dishes and things like that. Or you could be caring for someone that has a chronic illness, which would be like my mother with Alzheimer's disease, or someone with cancer or Parkinson's or MS, which would entail a lot more difficult caregiving and many, many more hours of it.
The impact on caregivers. Caring for older adults with a chronic illness can be physically, emotionally, financially, and spiritually draining. And how many of us know that? It is, yeah, it's very true.
Studies show caregivers, and I don't necessarily agree with all of these, because me as a caregiver, the last thing I went to was a doctor. I didn't have time for it. They use more prescription drugs. They have a higher levels of depression, make 46% more physician's visits, can become isolated, and can experience loss of self, time, and money. And like Diane said, she lost her identity basically, having to take care of her husband and her mother and her father. She didn't know who she was. And you have no time for yourself or to be able to go out with friends and or do family activities. And of course then you have a money situation where you have extra costs there. So.
And I quit my job to care for my husband. And at that time I had no insurance, and that just adds to the stress.
Okay, everybody read together, please.
Do not be anxious about anything,
so we can see it online anytime we want to. So, you know, there are things that you can adapt.
What is Powerful Tools for Caregivers? For family caregivers of older adults, they also have a program for caregivers of children with special needs. And we haven't taught that class, we've done the adult classes. The program is delivered in a 6-week program. It's an educational program, not a support group. It focuses on learning skills for self-care, is led by 2 certified class leaders. It's provided by Lutheran Family Service to local congregations and their communities.
The program assumes that caregivers face similar problems, which could be medical, emotional, or family. Caregiving impacts a caregiver's life, extra time spent with who you're caring for. It takes you away from your family, friends, and yourself. Care receivers benefit from caregivers practicing self-care. If you learn to take care of yourself, if you start eating right, you go to the doctor, you treat yourself well, you exercise, of course the person that you're caring for is going to receive better help because you're feeling better about yourself. Your care receiver is going to see the difference.
I want to share with you a devotional that I read many years ago, and I copied it and kept it, and I frequently reread it to myself, if nothing else. The name of it is The Gift to the Lioness. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. That's from Matthew 22:39. My dear friend warned me that I was trying to do more than was really possible. She asked, will you allow me to give you a gift? She then asked, which, the male or the female lion, does the hunting? Do you know which it is? Most of you, all of you are saying, wonderful. I knew the answer, so I replied, the female. You are right, she added, but which one eats first? What do you think? You're all saying male. Okay. Well, I said it was the male, and she politely indicated that I was wrong. The female eats first, before the male, and even before the babies. If she doesn't take care of herself, there will be no food for the entire family. Sometimes animals are smarter than we are, aren't they? My friend then said, allow me to give you the gift of the lioness. Take care of yourself. Sometimes we are so busy helping others that we neglect ourselves. When the Pharisees questioned Jesus about which was the greatest commandment, he replied, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart. This, he said, was the greatest commandment, and that the second was like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Wholesome self-esteem is necessary to live life fully. Jesus knew that if we do not love ourselves, we cannot love and relate to others in healthy ways. As we love and take proper care of ourselves, we are more able to help meet the needs of our family and neighbors throughout the world. And I thought that was so appropriate. Maybe it was the situation I was in, but I think we can all relate to that. Okay.
I guess there was another slide.
I thought there was.
Caregivers are effective class leaders, and the group process is important. And the group process, that's what really, really helped me because you can share amongst yourselves and discuss your issues.
Okay, this is the program itself, the Powerful Tools for Caregivers program. It's divided into 6 weekly sessions. Session number 1 is taking care of you. The class sets the stage for the entire class. It emphasizes that the focus is on you, the caregiver, not on the family member receiving your care. You will develop a box of self-care tools. The challenges of caregiving and significance of caregiving self-care are underscored. Beginning in this class, caregivers will write a weekly action plan. And we told those people that, and immediately they were a little concerned about it. The action plans are very simple, and many times it's related to what the topic has been for that week. And say if it was taking care of yourself, maybe somebody would say, in the next week, I want to spend 10 minutes a day reading a book, or I want to spend 10 minutes a day going for a walk. It's just very simple things that can be accomplished, and it's setting a goal and meeting it and feeling good about it. Okay. Class 2 is identifying and reducing personal stress. 4 steps are presented for effective stress management. 1 is identifying early warning signs. 2, identifying personal sources of stress. 3, changing what you can change and accepting what you cannot change. And 4 is taking action. Tools to reduce stress are discussed, also negative and positive self-talk. Class 3 is communicating feelings, needs, and concerns. Participants learn how to communicate their feelings, needs, and concerns more effectively by using I messages. Through brief dramatization, participants experience the impact of both I messages and you messages.
Okay, session 4, class 4, is communicating in challenging situations. What we do is we teach 2 different forms of communication with people. We teach assertiveness, and there's a big difference of being assertive in what you want to do and aggressive in what you want to do. And so we want to get you away from being aggressive in your communication skills, but yet be assertive and be able to get the point across that you want to get across to others. And the second form is Aikido, which sounds really weird, but basically all it is putting yourself in the other person's shoes and seeing what they're feeling, what they're going through, and then there are steps to follow in order to deal with the problem in a different way. So in a sense, you're just kind of setting yourself aside and putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Class number 5, or session 5, is learning from our emotions. The overriding theme of this class is our emotions are messages we need to listen to. I needed to realize how angry I was, because if I didn't figure out how angry I was, I couldn't deal with the anger. And so the class helped me deal with my feelings of anger and guilt that I had. It emphasizes that there are reasons for our feelings that we have, and they're not necessarily good or bad. And it identifies constructive ways for dealing with these feelings, especially guilt, anger, and depression. And one thing that I added that they don't have here is grief, because I lost Mom probably 10 years into her dementia. She was no longer the Mom I knew. And so, I grieved for the old Mom. And so, but this program, helps you through those feelings, those emotions that you have. Class number 6 is mastering caregiving decisions. You focus on the internal emotional process that caregivers go through when they experience a life change, and tools for dealing with these changes and for making tough decisions. So maybe it's in a sense where you need a change in the level of their care. You maybe need to bring someone else in the home to care for them or help care for them. So, then you're dealing with an outside agency and having to deal with other people. Or maybe you're dealing with, you have to separate. My mom ended up in memory care for a year and a half before she died because she started hitting my dad. And it wasn't the fact that he was mad or about the hitting, he was afraid he was going to hit her. And so he didn't want that to happen. So we put her then into memory care because of that. And it's dealing with all the emotions of that. Dad was in grief for 3 months after he moved her into memory care. He couldn't even go see her. He was that distraught. But you have to learn from those emotions and to be able to deal with them. And then of course communicating with new nurses and doctors and whatever that goes on with that. So the program deals with all of that. You read together.
And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Romans 12.
Stay focused on God, not on the world. God may be just telling us that your job right now is to take care of your loved one, and you need to take care of yourself. And that's what you need to do. You don't need to answer to all these people saying, can you do this and can you do that? Because a lot of those people don't understand what you're going through as a caregiver. They haven't been there. They don't know the struggles that you go through and the time that you put in. So, this gives you the right to say no to those people. And God wants you in that position to care for your loved one and to care for yourself.
Evaluations from participants. At the end of the 6-week course, the participants evaluate the course itself as well as the leaders. And they noted on these evaluations that they seem to have significant improvements in some of their behaviors, particularly increased exercise, use of relaxation techniques, and health self-care.
In their emotional health, they reduced their anger, they reduced their guilt, they reduced their depression.
Increased self-confidence in coping with caregiving demands, and they had increased use of community services. Many times they don't know about community resources and services, and we don't always have those answers either, but if we know that somebody is searching for those kinds of things, we can help them look, or we have people as resources that maybe can give us, or steer us in the right direction to find help for the people that we're trying to find resources for.
One thing I forgot, during the class, you receive a handbook or a health book. The first 7 lessons of the health book tie into our 6 lessons that we teach. The last half of the health book is resources that you can go to and articles that you can read that will further help you out. So it's not just, it's something that continues on after you've taken the class. So, we read aloud.
Praise be to the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. 2 Corinthians 1:3-4.
And if we'll just read this scripture verse, and then the topic goes with the next three or four slides.
Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28.
Okay. Now these next 3 or 4 slides are things you may wish to explore as a congregation. The first part deals with the Remembering Hope seminar. Have any of you attended this? Okay. It's done by the Perry Lutheran Home, and the program is called Remembering Hope, and it's many times a half-day seminar, where by the time that half day is over, or like if it's a 1 or 2 hour, however it's set up, you have a pretty good idea of what maybe the person with Alzheimer's experiences, which you wouldn't be able to realize unless you yourself were in that situation or you had been given some demonstrations. The large group seminar will cover topics such as demystifying dementia and Alzheimer's disease, getting a diagnosis, caregiver challenges, communicating with your loved one, and finding hope in Christ. Participants will also be able to participate in a simulation of what someone with Alzheimer's experiences through a visual dementia tour. Those who have experienced this simulation exercise have found it to be helpful to better understand and relate to their loved ones with Alzheimer's, as through it they gain a sense of the effects of the disease and how it changes a person's daily life.
And a lot of people or churches choose to maybe do the Remembering Hope seminar, and then maybe 2 weeks later start a Powerful Tools for Caregiver class. Or they can choose not to do this and go ahead with the class anyway.
Or they can do just this by itself without following up with the other programs that are offered.
Powerful Tools for Caregivers, like we've talked about. It's a 6-week class designed to provide you, the family caregiver, with the skills you need to take care of yourself as you take care of your loved one. There are 6 90-minute sessions held once a week and are facilitated by 2 experienced certified class leaders. You will learn to identify and reduce stress, improve your self-confidence, balance your life, better communicate your feelings to others, increase your ability to make tough decisions, and understand your local resources.
The third part of this is setting up a caregiver support group. Following the Powerful Tools for Caregivers group, local leaders will be supported to organize, launch, and facilitate an ongoing caregiver support group to benefit those in your community who are now or soon will be in a caregiver role. And that can be for people that have participated in the class. You build a bond with the other people that are there. I mean, and you know that they understand and have gone through many of the same things that you have in the process of caregiving. So many times, you know, it's those people that start the group, but there might be other people in the community who have been caregivers and weren't aware of the programs, or, you know, they find themselves in a caregiving role and are just in need of support and other people that understand.
The support group that I belonged to for 5 years, I think there were 12 that started, and probably of those 12, 10 of us have lost the loved ones we're caring for. So now we've kind of gotten away from it being a support group where we met and we really discussed a lot of issues to let's go out for lunch, you know, because we've just become deep friends and we appreciate each other's company. So you have that support. And if Diane, if you are interested in starting a support group for caregivers, Diane and I would be more than happy to help out. And moving forward, so if you're interested in doing the Perry Lutheran Home, we do have the Remembering Hope. We do have names and contact person for that if you're interested in doing that. Otherwise, you contact Lutheran Family Services to set dates or schedule for a Powerful Tools for Caregiver class if you want to do that. You just form a couple-member planning committee. Once Lutheran Family Services has your dates and times for the class, they send you all the promotional material, all your handouts and everything with the dates and everything on it. I think there's news releases and everything to promote the class. that they send to you. And if not contacting them, you can contact Diane and I. Of course, you provide the facility to hold the class, and if anybody is in need of respite care, you'll have to ask people that sign up if they need that care. That's an option for you to provide. And there is it costs $100 for the congregation to host a class, plus they have to copy all the handouts for the class. And the help books are $30 a piece, but there are scholarships that you can get in order to defray that cost. And if you're familiar with Thrive-It cards or anything like that, you could probably get one that would help a lot with those costs as well. I know of a program, Cancer Companion Program, that they're trying to start in the state of Iowa, and it's $1,000 before you can even start the program. So as far as I'm concerned, this is very inexpensive to take. These are the
Additional information. Mrs. Lynn?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess so.
You can, if you are interested in having the Powerful Tools classes, you can go directly to the Lutheran Family Service website, or they also have a Powerful Tools for Caregivers at their Lutheran Family Service website. Ann Bath has been our master trainer and our coordinator, but as of today, or as of I guess yesterday, she stepped down from that position. So we haven't gotten word yet as to who will be replacing her. She lives in Des Moines, and she herself lost her husband recently and is a caregiver for her mom. So she's having to give up some of her extra things right now too. If you are interested, you could contact either Kathy or I, and she has a handout that has our phone numbers and information on the back. Are there any questions? While she's passing those out, we'd be glad to. When I was caregiving for my first husband, I was a bit stubborn. You can't imagine that. I thought nobody else could care for him as well as I could, and I didn't ask for help. Sometimes I didn't want people knowing how ill he was, or that I could have used help. And it gets to the point where, knowing what I know now, and having learned a lot of that through Powerful Tools for Caregivers, I think at some of those points I was suffering from depression myself. He had congestive heart failure. He had a lot of multiple problems because of the accident. We dropped 250 feet down the side of a mountain, and he stayed in the cab and was crushed by the steering wheel. So he had very serious complications. I, on the other hand, was thrown out of the window, and the truck ended up on top of me. So I wouldn't even let them admit me to the hospital, and I should have. But, who was going to care for him if I wasn't there? I had to do it because I knew what he needed. I knew it all, except I suffered in the process.
But God knew that she was protected underneath that truck.
Oh.
Because had she not, she would have dropped another 200 feet and been.
Oh, it was further than that now.
Yeah, and been dead.
There was this ledge down the side of a mountain, and it's just like God reached his hands out and caught our truck. And it was March 17th, which there was still snow and ice on the mountains, and we were driving on ice that day, black ice. And so God was with us from the very beginning. But during Fred's 11 years of his illness, I prayed every day. I prayed fervently to God that he would get better. Tell me what to do, and I'll do what you tell me to do, and just make him better. And I just felt like God wasn't answering me, and I was getting really frustrated with God. 11 years is a long time, and things just weren't getting better. And then on the 11th year, on the date of our accident, I prayed, God, let your will be done. And he died that day. 11 years to the day of our accident. And I'm just thinking that God knew. He was just letting me stubborn and think I could flounder out there by myself, and I wasn't doing such a good job of it. And it was getting to the point where I was probably going to have to put him in a nursing home. And I had promised him I wouldn't do that. So please, 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 never make those promises, because you don't know what the future's going to be. But we would be glad to answer questions about the Powerful Tools program, or we have both taken the Remembering Hope seminar. We can refer you to the appropriate people there if you're interested in any support group. A lot of the support comes from within the church. I joined the Lutheran Church in Farnhamville when I moved back here 5 years ago. And a lot of my support comes from friends in my church family. And if we let them know our needs, which we don't always, if we let them know our needs, there is, a massive amount of help there wanting to help us, wanting to make our lives easier while we go through some of these things in life.
Just kind of an update that I was supposed to include in my introduction, and I got too nervous and I passed over it. Within 8 months of taking the Powerful Tools for Training class, we moved my mom and dad to an assisted living place in Cedar Falls, which made it longer for me to drive, but it was closer to my brother and sister. They lived together in the assisted living for another 2 years, and then Mom got bad enough that she needed to go to memory care, and she lived another year and a half there. And what is so, and all the grieving and stuff that my dad went through in the process of losing her, he has now is such a help to all the people in that facility. He makes his rounds every morning. He has, well, of course, it's mainly women. There's not very many men there. And he always makes friends with the men that are there, and then he has to deal with them dying. And so, but he has grown so much in his ability to be a caregiver that he had a dear friend that had a severe stroke. And so he had to be moved from assisted living to nursing home. Dad would go down there every day and talk to him. He couldn't talk to Dad at all, couldn't even hardly move. But Dad would wheel him to Bible study. He'd wheel him to chapel. He would come in, he has about 10 women he goes and sees every morning. So he greets them, takes them where they want to go.
For sure.
And yeah.
And that's my brother that she's talking about.
Yeah.
My brother.
Yeah, so, and he's 92 years old, so,
That's probably what keeps him going. Feeling he's able to do something for somebody else.
and we really worried that after Mom passed away, what he was going to do. And I guess, God solved that problem for us. So, I guess if there's no questions, then, we have 2 more Bible passages to read.
Praise
The Lord, my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your sins and heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit and crowns you with love and compassion, who satisfies your desires with good things, so that your youth is rewarded like eagles. Psalm 103:3-5. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. John 14:20.